An issue I see brought up when anime fans get debating is whether rewatches hold the same spotlight as your first viewing experience. As once you know the outcome, is it really all that interesting to see the same events play out as we know they will? But shows like Somali and the Forest Spirit to me are one of those great examples on why I believe knowing the end never really hampers the viewing experience. As by introducing a father-daughter dynamic between a little girl who is hunted for being human and a dying golem tasked with finding her safe haven, you know logically it's probably going to make us cry by the end. Yet that never makes you want to put the anime down, but rather, you actually want to binge a few more episodes because we can't look away. Family dynamics, I find, are the more challenging of story types to write in the anime medium. You either portray them realistic, giving off a wholesome or maybe even potentially dramatic vibe, or you go balls to the walls insane with it. Personally, I just find them boring more often than not. Maybe it's due to my own disconnect with my own family, but it feels like it's a little too sappy or just a little too forced, at least for my liking. Yet Somali and the Forest Spirit honestly portrays a realistic take on what a father and daughter tale should look like. But rather than putting the focus on two human characters, the child is of course human, but the father is a dying golem. Golems that lack emotions and are driven by complete and utter logic. They serve the forest until their demise. So then you start asking yourself, why is this one traveling trying to find humans for a girl who calls him father? That right there is a brilliant story hook. I generally have no interest in these kinds of tales, but by giving the focus on an emotional conclusion where everyone and their mother has the same shattering realization that it's probably going to end in tears, but we still hope that this girl Somali will find a peaceful resolution with a smile to go out on, it just makes it impossible to turn away. One of my all-time favorite archetypes for character designs are any that seem emotionless at least at surface level, as the viewer watches them become more human as the story progresses. Golems are simply a fascinating creature, and the take that this anime took ours on is one of the more standout character arcs 2020 is going to witness. As we watch the series more and more, everyone hammers it into the viewer's mind that golems do not feel emotions. They are completely logic-driven, that is their species. They don't defy the law and order that the universe has laid out for them. That's simply how it is. Yet everywhere the golem travels to, these same people are shocked to see that his kind is in their village because they supposedly never leave the forest. Very quickly, everyone will assume that the reason golems function the same way generation after generation is they've never had a reason to defy the natural law and order. It'd be like if cats never had contact with humans for hundreds of years. Naturally, they'd just be ingrained into them to fear humans rather than quickly adapting with them. By throwing an anomaly towards the golem, it forces him to act like anyone else, thinking this girl is going to die without me. I may have no connection, but since I found her in my forest, I should probably care for her. Watching him show these slight signs of emotion slowly but surely is one of the more memorable character pieces I've seen in the past year. By having this little girl Somali be a bundle of joy and energy, ignorant to the world surrounding her, it forces the golem out of his shell and face his true feelings, ones that he thought he never had. He cares for Somali, it's why he gets upset when she runs off. He feels worried about her future. He takes care of her and makes sure she eats healthy. He literally is a father to her despite saying, I have no emotions, and it's cute as hell to see him admit it when enough time has finally passed. Somali herself is peak of anime adorableness, bringing those who are fond of kids and those, like myself, who consider them to be brats, to this nice middle ground where we just want to see her happy. She's bubbly, she's sweet, that is her character. A girl who was being sold off to be someone's food now gets to have smiles all day with her newly found father, who she firmly believes will stay with her forever. The reason this dynamic works so well is that the story is written in such a way that the viewer will think like the golem more often than not. You want to tell her, of course, they're going to be together forever, but then you see how little time he truly has left and how oblivious she actually is to everything that's happening. But there is something about a child's innocence where they always defy logic. Most times it means a rude awakening. I mean, I'm not going to say otherwise. But there is that what if. What if there could be a way for them to stay together forever, or at least longer than he thinks he can? Is the golem just not trying hard enough? Golems don't leave their forest, but this one did. Golems don't feel, but this one clearly does. What if the reason golems last a certain amount of time is because they've had no reason to extend their life similar to a human with modern medicine? That's the sweet spot. 99% of your mind is like, the golem, goddamn, he's gonna die, and she's gonna be stuck on the road alone and afraid, and if we can't find humans to live with, we're going to go insane. But then there's that 1% of your brain saying everything will be okay. This allows for the dramatic and adorable adventures to take place in every which direction, where rather than feeling episodic, it feels like an epic journey. We know the sad ending too, but hope that we're wrong and this little girl sees something that we don't. And when the two's bond heads in a more dramatic direction, it makes your heart want to jump out from your chest. The sidecast is actually surprisingly intriguing during every interaction. Each time someone got introduced, I figure they're going to be there for maybe an arc and then we'd forget about them. And while not everyone pops up again throughout the season, it never feels like those connections are forgotten, but you think about them the same way the characters do from time to time, as if they became friends if not family to them. Shizno and Yabashira are the most relevant side characters who return to us throughout this entire journey, and I'd go as far to say they pretty much became the two's family with how the season wraps up. But whether it's a sister dynamic with Somali two little friends making memories, the side characters felt just as fleshed out as that of our central duo, which yet again added another layer to the world, helping it feel full of life and energy. A simple story of trying to find humans before your internal clock runs out of Jews is a powerful story hook. But Somali and the Forest Spirit never keeps the focus solely on the bittersweet ending that we know is coming, but rather the present, what they have now, and wanting to hold on to it for as long as possible. Which is exactly why, without much struggle, this became my favorite family story in the anime medium. The area that ties this entire package together isn't the character designs nor the art style in general, but the background details. These set pieces bring the entire series full circle into one of the more captivating environments that 2020 is going to see. Somali and the Forest Spirit brought in a French creator to helm the role of background director, and it shows. Nothing about the set pieces feel traditional for what we've come to expect with fantasy anime. The way they blend in this almost watercolor aesthetic with lighting that bursts through any style of scene, whether it's a dramatic to the dawn of a new morning. It feels as if everything in this world belongs here, which means when we go to any new location, be it the woods to a new village, nothing feels identical, but it does feel like one society and one world. If you walk down your own street, the architecture is going to look similar, but obviously different because everyone has unique tastes. But the general home to store is going to look like it belongs in that location with just a few oddball designs to set themselves apart. But when you go to the next city or district over, it's going to look different. Why? Because that's how evolution of culture happens. That's exactly what you see in this anime. Each village seems like they belong on this planet, but each have a distinct identity full of people and life that scream detail, which then in return brings our fairly normal character designs into something full of energy. From Somali's cute look to the golem's emotionless glare, the character designs feel solid. They don't break the trends fantasy and slice of life shows like this are known for, but I never really found that to be an issue. You enjoy looking at them, and with the extra detail placed onto the set pieces, it brings everything to a complete full circle. The worst you can probably criticize in terms of Flash is that there's very little in the animation department more often than not. But when a series is designed to be the daily adventures of a father and daughter, I don't see that being a big enough issue to lose sleep over, especially when there's certain moments that nearly took my breath away with visual directing. But something I really have to praise is how the golem responds visually, or lack of responding. For a creature with seemingly no emotions, he acts fairly emotional despite his words claiming otherwise. Rather than seeing him smile or frown, with careful directing techniques, this man will have many faces of emotions by just placing the camera ever so carefully. So the moment he does share a reaction everyone thought impossible, it makes us melt in love and tears. Sound is a very powerful tool, and emotional high notes only work flawlessly if the sound department is in harmony with the other layers. That means a performance making you feel like it's a person. The careful use of having a scene go quiet, so the only thing we hear is the actor, or heightening the sound around them so much that our anxiety is filling up in our lungs. Or maybe even just using music as a soft piano score to say everything we need to know. Between the heart-punching performances that leave you melting in awe or wanting to tear up because it's that damn powerful, to the soundtrack that feels like nature making every scene feel full of bliss or tears, it simply has the perfect balance. Sure, some characters are more anime than others, and you're not going to see the same level of detail in Somali's performance as you will with a random side character. But the moments that matter, they definitely stick out. I was actually totally convinced up until this anime ended Somali was being performed by a kid, as I had full confidence that this sounded like a child, not an adult doing a cute little voice. Then I learned the actress is actually my age, and I was even more blown away. Monotone performances, such as the golem, can be stale without much struggle, but by having the golem always interacting with another, and most importantly Somali, you never really grow bored of his almost effortless performance just going through the motions, while his actions clearly contrast his dialogue. As this is a human by all rights of the emotional definition, and I love where they ended his character by episode 12 and how his voice definitely evolved along the way. Shows like Somali and the Forest Spirit, they come and go. They sweep a community for a few months to then quickly be forgotten in a year's time, and sometimes in a season's time. But for myself, that's not what this is. Select shows have stuck out with the family dynamic, and sure, maybe I'm not the biggest target audience for a series such as this, but for me, I actually think that goes to show how magical this story actually is, where the target demographic ate it up, and even those such as myself who usually have no interest in a series such as this, is considering it one of the strongest shows in a pretty fantastic season. This is the new bar for what father and daughter stories aiming to be wholesome and a little dramatic need to be. Which is why I award this wonderful anime my ultimate seal of approval, which is a rating for the best of the best out there. If we get a season 2, I'm going to be watching it for sure, but honestly the way it leaves off is the perfect conclusion in itself, letting us hope for a brighter tomorrow. Now if you have any thoughts on Somali and the Forest Spirit, or just this review, feel free to share your own down in the comment section below. Remember to leave a like to share your support, and if you liked what you see around here, feel free to subscribe to see more anime content in the future. Also check out my Patreon, where you can directly fund and support the channel while receiving some fun perks such as early access on videos just like this review. So until next time everyone, please take care, and have a good one.